BlueNote Fan Report Playoff Round 2 Preview. Yes, that's right. It is the BlueNote Fan Report, and this is our Round 2 Preview. And man, have we got some amazing Round 2 matchups. The Battle of Alberta. The Battle for Florida. The Kroenke mate. And you've got Coralina trying to take a bite out of the Big Apple. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have some guests lined up for us today. Should be great. First of all, I want to say a big thank you to Marianne Holmes. Her husband retired from the Coast Guard today. 20 years of being a puddle jumper. Our hearts go out to you. Thank you for your service. You know, I'm a Desert Storm vet and did my 20, so I can call him a puddle jumper. First, I want to welcome my first guest. He is from Coast to Coast Hockey. He's in a group with me. Big Avs fan. He's going to help us break down the Avs series to begin with, and his name is Mr. Marco Scott. Please welcome Marco to the show. Hey, Marco, how are you doing, buddy?
I am doing wonderful. How are you doing, man?
I am good, man. Thank you so much. I gotta say I'm really glad to meet you finally. But I've loved, in the group that we're in, how you'll, I give you shit, right?
Yeah.
I talk about the 10 real Avs fans, and I think you're one of them. So I give that to you, my friend.
Much appreciated. A lot of people give me a bunch of crap for being an Avs fan and sticking with them through the losing years after 2000. I think it was 99 2000 season, or no, the 2000-2001 season, the last cup. Yeah. And a lot of my friends are just kind of confused about it. Like, why are you still rooting for them? I'm like, guys, this is the first team that introduced me to the sport. Even though I'm from Ottawa native, my first game was Avs and Canucks. So,
oh wow!
And that was down in Vancouver, down in BC. Yeah. So it's one of those things. I'm one of those kids, got a puck from one of the Avs players, and that player was actually my coach. He coaches for Arvada now down here in Colorado. He was my youth hockey coach, and that was Milan Hajduk. So, yeah.
Oh, I remember Milan. I remember him. He was one of them little speedster tough guys, you would like never hear his name, then all of a sudden there'd be a collision on the ice and it would be Hajduk.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that like to stay behind the play and just show up out of the blue with a slap shot, or he'll fake one out and give it out to Joe, and Joe will somehow grind a goal out in the middle of all of that. So
this is from Matt Lowe. You're welcome here, even though you're an Avs fan. Your comrades are getting about intolerable, though, buddy. I admit I will agree with that. They have gotten there. Now we've got some more stuff coming, and I know you've got to leave kind of early, so I want to get into the series with you first before, and we can do what I planned on doing later with the other guys. But I want to get into this series with you first. I heard you put a comment, and I remember this. I think it was you had said, "Hey, Blues, I hope you take care of the Wild for us." Was that you?
Yeah, that was definitely me. I'm one of those guys. The Wild have become the new Red Wings here in Colorado. As y'all know, the Red Wings and Avs rivalry was intense, but I can say officially it's died. There's little chirps here and there, but the Wild have knocked the Avs out of the playoffs a couple of times. I was there for one of them for a Game 7, and a lot of Wild fans love to start fights in the stands here in Colorado. And
yeah, you mean all 9 of them?
Yeah, with their lovely no cups, but
yeah. I'm surprised that you would want to face the Blues. Right now, I know that we've only faced in the playoffs twice, and we beat them twice, and you beat us twice. But this is a different Blues team than you saw last season. I mean, to all the Colorado Avalanche fans that think this is going to be a cakewalk, this is not the same team. This is not the same team that you saw last season.
It definitely isn't.
To be honest, these teams match up a lot better than people think they do.
And that's why I wanted to see that. Not only that, as you know, Landeskog's been on his tour of former teammates that kind of got on him. And Ryan O'Reilly's one of them. Stastny, unfortunately, he's in Winnipeg now. But Ryan O'Reilly, the way he left, the comments his dad made, it just kind of it didn't feel good to us Avs fans. As much support as we gave him, we understand you want winning hockey, but at that point, he was one of the pillars that the team was trying to build around, and it set us back even further with his departure. And so he got his cup now.
You know, that's to me, if it had been within the last couple of years, I could see that. But it's been what, like 5-6 years now? Longer than that.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've noticed also during the games though, him and Landy have been chirping at each other. If you notice
I seen that. I absolutely seen that. There's a lot of bad blood between these two teams, right? And a lot of it comes from, first of all, it's not just that you eliminated us last year. In 2017, you eliminated us from a chance at the playoffs, the last game of the season. Right?
Yeah, because it came down to a battle between us.
And not only that, then you get your owner, right? Yeah. Your owner takes a lot away from who we are. Now, on paper, he's not the owner, but he's the owner. And maybe you know about this or not, but Stan Kroenke is the guy that owns the Rams, and he's the one that facilitated the Rams leaving St. Louis by fraud. And let me welcome in my lovely co-host, and she's going to be tonight's moderator as more people pop in. This is Ashley. Ashley, the way we're going to, what I had hoped on doing was having the 5 of us in, but Markle here may have to leave early. So we're going to talk a little bit about this series now.
Okay.
And then we can go more in depth when we get the guy from Full Press Hockey. When we get him in, and when Lance comes in, we can go a little more deeper into it. But I want to get into this series with Markle while we have Markle. Well, here's the guy from Full Press. Please welcome from Full Press Hockey, Mr. Chris Wassel. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, it's like right on cue. Hi, kids. By the way, this thing does exist. It is an actual shirt, so don't mind.
No, we're fine with that, bud. We started a little early. I found out Markle had to leave early, and he's an Avs fan, so I wanted to try and get into this Avalanche series now, and then we can talk about the other series later. Is that okay?
Absolutely fine.
We got one more coming. Ashley's going to moderate this. Normally, I'm the host of the show. Tonight, she's going to moderate. She's going to be the host. Ashley, this is Chris Wassel from Full Press Hockey.
Hi, Chris. Nice to meet you.
I'm in. One of the writers that works with me. And then we have Markle from Coast to Coast Hockey, another writers group that I'm in. And we should have Lance come on. So you've got the ball, and don't forget the comments.
Okay. I'm still scrolling through what you sent me, trying to find the St. Louis series. So.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have access to it, but I'm on the NHL media site. I have a friend that vouched for me, so I get the media press releases, and they sent a 139-page pamphlet, a PDF about the playoffs for round 2.
Ooh,
right?
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he
Yeah,
sent it to me
I
about
didn't
10
see it
minutes
late,
ago.
So I got it to her late. So that's what she's going over.
Oh, jeez.
He sent it to me 10 minutes ago and said, hey, you're going to ask questions off of this. And I'm like, that's 335 pages.
Well, go off the cuff, Ash. Ask what you think right off the cuff about this series.
All right. From a Colorado standpoint, how are you guys taking this matchup? Were you guys hoping for St. Louis versus Minnesota, or?
I personally, from some of the pages I'm on with the Colorado Avalanche, and me personally getting working in the stadium as well. All of us really wanted the Blues, mainly because, of course, everyone thought the Blues are going to be a pushover. I know how the Blues work nowadays. They're a late season team. So I really wanted to see how Jordan Binnington can take getting peppered with shots this series, and how physical the series was going to be, because honestly, the Wild, the Avs kind of let the Wild run with them, and that was usually the games that we were resting players. So it was like Landy would be magically a healthy scratch, or Nathan, will have an upper body injury, but really would be down in Arvada eating pizza, chilling with everybody, having a good time. And it was just one of those things where I think the Avs and Blues, this is like if the Avs are going to get past the second round, I think this would be the true test for people to finally go, okay, this team is a legit team, and not just because of what happened in the regular season.
Fair enough. Do you think that Kemper gives you guys a good chance? I know that he'll be back for this series. Or do you guys still miss Grubauer?
Gruby was definitely a hard pill to swallow when he left, especially when it was only, I could see if he was leaving for a lot of money. He left for a little bit, like a chump change on top of what we offered. So that kind of made, it kind of put a nasty taste here. But honestly, Darcy, from last time I saw them when I went to the Avs practice thing, he looked just fine. He was on point. He was in position. The swelling around his eye looked almost non-existent. So, of course, that was a nasty situation. It was definitely accidental. I as someone who's played hockey myself, and as a goaltender, it happens. Those type of masks, those fisheye masks, there's a reason why, other leagues ban them. They definitely, you can get popped in the eye really easily.
Oh, absolutely.
But Darcy looked completely fine. The players definitely got some good rests. Kel was, back to his normal ways, shooting from the blue line. Kel's been also getting kind of little nasty. He's been getting closer and closer to the net, and then he just speeds back to get back in position, which I hope the Blues don't take advantage of that and see rookie mistakes on that.
Yeah. So Chris Shockey asked a pretty good question. Are you worried about so much time going by between the last time you guys played? It's going to be a week.
Rust always can set in with teams, and that's we've seen teams that have gone in the playoffs as the number one, team, and they'll go sweep a team, sit out for a whole week, and then come back and just get outplayed because they're on vacation mode. But Bednar has kept them in shape. I know they only got like 3 solid days, I would say, of actual being able to rest, and Bednar's kept a regular practice schedule, and also making them kind of scrimmage pretty heavily versus what he usually does in the preseason, but not preseason, but regular season. So I think honestly the boys will definitely be ready to go. Fair
enough. Hold on, I'm trying to look at these questions too, because I don't want to
worry about your questions. I'll handle the board. You worry about the questions to Chris and me and that. You don't worry about what's on the board. I got that today.
I'm so used to the board. So used to the board. Anyways, last playoffs, Colorado obviously swept the Blues. Do you think that there might be a chance that they come in a little too cocky, too confident?
I think so. I think a lot of people think this is going to be a 4-game series. I'm thinking 6. I think the Blues come and take at least 2. I think they're going to at least shock the Avs once at home. And that's usually when Jared Bednar gets in, fires up the boys when something like that happens. And that's when the Avs are going to get it together. But yeah, in no way, shape, or form, I don't think the Avs themselves are going to go into this series cocky. If you go back and look at those interviews at the end of the game 4 in Nashville, they were happy they won, but none of them were like super excited like they're usually. All of them were like, the goal is get past round 2 and then we'll worry about the rest of the playoffs. And I think they're going to walk in, and St. Louis may or may not take them seriously. And if they don't play well in front of Jordy Bennington, then poor Jordy's going to get peppered, and it's going to look like the situation in Nashville. You're going to see another goalie snapping his paddle. So
I agree.
Well, I completely disagree with that statement, but I want to know, Chris, you write betting stuff, so I want to know what the betting line is on this.
Okay, this is a lot of fun here. Now for obviously, as people know, St. Louis took only 1 game out of 3 this season. But the key point in this, the over keeps hitting here. Okay, this is just like you just take a big giant hammer out, just keep smashing it as many times as you can, because let's face it, these two teams love they love facing off against each other, and they love scoring lots of goals. And as everybody knows, this is the midnight trade series, the classic one. And I still remember this for people that don't know. Russ Cohen and a few of us actually kind of broke this trade down on a legendary late night podcast at like about 3 a.m. because we all couldn't believe that this trade was happening at 1 something in the morning. True, honest to goodness story. About 6 shots of rum later. And
which trade was this? My memory. You got to remember, I spent a lot of time in the Navy, so I missed a lot.
This was the infamous Shattenkirk trade.
Okay, Shattenkirk, yeah.
Happened like 10 to 2 in the morning Eastern time.
Okay.
Nobody could believe it. I don't think the league office could believe it either, to be honest. But from a betting standpoint in this series, there's a lot of avenues to go, and we did the same thing with the last series with Nashville, where you did the following things. You hammered the Nathan McKinnon point prop. You hammered the Cale Makar point prop. And then you just kind of like mixed a few things. You mixed the shot props in along the way, and you took the Colorado team over, and you walked home pretty much. I think it was plus 8 or 9 units alone if you made just half unit bets. So, I mean, right there, that's not going to happen quite this way in this series. But you're still probably going to profit because of the simple fact that St. Louis knows it has to play a certain style based on what they're going to be presented with.
I'm sorry, Ash. I'm going to chime in here. Are you okay? Okay.
Yeah.
I sort of agree with that, but something got said and something got missed. You said that the Blues have only won 1 game against the Avs this season. That's right. But what's the goal differential between the Avs and the Blues in those 3 games?
It's not that much.
Yeah, it's not that much.
It's
not
1.
That much. Yep.
It's 1. The Blues won 5-3. The Avalanche won 5-3. The Avalanche won 4-3 on a fluky goal in the second game. I was using that as a separation. A 4-3 and a fluky goal at the end of a game. These 2 teams are much closer together than you think. And not only that, you talk about Bennington and how they play in front of Bennington and how they play in front of Bennington. They gave Bennington up a few times in the last 3 games. Bennington was ready for it. He's not playing the way he played. And we've talked about this on the show, and I know some of you guys aren't here. I'll tell you what, Bennington had COVID, and COVID affected him. He had a brain fog. I think that fog is gone now. And I also think you're looking at a team that's not going to give up the odd man rushes. I don't think they're going to get those shots that they got against Nashville against Nashville. I don't think you're going to even get close to those same type of shots or the same number of shots. The other thing is, now I say this, in most cases, the difference between the top team in the league and the bottom of the team in the league is minuscule. Minuscule. Yeah. One or two players. You take a couple of players off of Carolina, take two players off Carolina, put them on Montreal. Carolina doesn't get the President's Cup. Montreal makes the playoffs. That's simple. However, I say unless you're looking at it under an electron microscope. And the playoffs are the electron microscope. There is a huge difference between the Blues and the Predators in the playoffs. They got the Nashville, or not Nashville, the Avalanche were 40% on the power play against Nashville. That's not going to happen against St. Louis. In fact, in 3 games, Nashville was on the power play 11 times. This vaunted offense was on the power play 11 times, scored 1 goal, 9%. This is going to be you think the Blues last season series was a special team series? This one is going to be special teams, and this is going to be a neutral zone series.
Oh yeah, no, this is definitely going to be one of those games where it's whoever can get the most dirtiest and grind out those goals in front of the net easily. Like I said, even in the games, Jordan Binnington did have a higher, save percentage. He I think he during the 3 games this season was like 0.897 or something like that. Even though he was, losing 2 of the games. Like I said, a lot of people here in Colorado that don't know hockey that well really think that the Avs are going to be able to run over this Blues team.
That's 99.8% of your fan base.
Yeah, unfortunately, some of us get too happy when we start doing good. It's with all our teams. It's like with basketball, with the Nuggets. Like I told everyone, I was like, we're not beating the Warriors. I'm sorry, that's not happening. But the thing is, Darcy, I think the reason why Darcy's playing so good this year is he got out of Arizona and he got the keys, and Jared Bednar, when he was with the Cleveland Monsters, the AHL team, he always, all the goalies that gone through Cleveland, he gives them a chance to either fail or not, and then he makes them go correct everything. And everyone thought we were stupid by taking Pavel. But Pavel stepped up when he needed to, and he let in a couple of dumb goals. Honestly, it was a couple of bad shifts by Kel that those goals went through. But even then, once Francois got focused, dude became a brick wall. And honestly, they said both with Darcy and Binnington, it's going to be whoever can, get those lucky trickle goals at goal 5-hole, or, someone crashes the net and someone's going to collapse, and that's who it's going to be. But to be honest, like I said, that's why I see the Avs taking this series, only because of how high flying we can get once you give us an inch of space. And if the Blues give us an inch of space, that's when you're going to start seeing players, especially if you looked at that 3rd and 4th line in the Nashville series, they were causing a lot of issues for Nashville. It wasn't even our top line. It was our 3rd and 4th line that was causing issues. And if the Blues aren't ready to have 4 lines getting, being hit like that, it could be a rough series. But honestly, I think Ryan O'Reilly is definitely going to step up. I think Ryan's going to be a difference for the Blues. And as much as I hate that, I think Ryan is going to be the reason why the Blues take a couple of these games.
Do you know, and sorry, I know I'm not supposed to be hosting today.
You're fine, guy.
But here's the thing. Avs scored a bunch of goals, right?
Yeah.
They were 4th in the league. Do you know who the 3 teams ahead of them were?
No, I do not, actually.
And if I remember this, it was Carolina,
Yep.
Florida,
Florida.
and St. Louis.
St. Louis is 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, St. Louis was third. So this is not going to be the series that everybody thinks it is. And Chris, I know from the betting perspective, I mean, are bettors looking at this game has the sure thing, or is this that battle, that 7-game series that it could easily be? Because I'll tell you what, you take line for line, defense for defense, and goalie for goalie, and I come out 59 or 51 to 49%, and it flip flops on either team.
Well, this is where it gets fun, because if you take a look at any series betting site, just look at the series odds themselves. You're looking at Colorado right now being around a minus 400 favorite right now. That's a basic hammer in a series. But go
for my non-betting people, what's a hammer mean?
Okay, real quick, it's down to minus 350.
Yeah, you can get 350 on a few sites, but
yeah.
Right now, Caesars, BetMGM, you can get it boosted down to about 3 something. I think it was as low as 325 even.
Yep.
In New Jersey.
I've even seen it as low as 275, but
yeah.
I don't know if that's realistic. And I used to do a lot in Vegas, and I didn't bet, but a lot of the guys I knew, some of them were the top bookies for Caesars and the top host. They would be the ones that would place the bets for the high rollers and stuff. And he always calls me and tells me what I should do. And I'm like, I don't know why you call me. I don't bet. Well, pass it on to your friends. I'm like, okay. And he's telling me to bet minus 450 and take the Avs is what he's telling me. And I told him, I said, that's a little high, buddy. He says, well, I'm going to tell you. He said, the reason I'm telling you that is there's more money on the Blues than people think, but the bigger bets are going on Avalanche. So in other words, the $10, $20, $30 bets are going on the Blues, and the guys that are putting up $10K to $100K to $1 million are betting on the Avs.
And there's truth to it.
I was gonna say, because you said BetMGM is sitting, they're sitting at 350, and the Blues are plus 275 right now.
Yep.
I think this series is a lot closer.
It's closer
than people think it is, and I said that from the beginning. I talked about, we had Ian on Saturday, and we did a 2-hour show on Saturday, believe it or not. And Ian Oman, he's in the chat room. He's a Wild fan, and I had said at the beginning of that series, the Blues are the better team. Well, you know what? And we did I had Windy City on, and we did a line by line breakdown. And with the exception of maybe one line, it was all Blues. With the Avalanche, they only have 2 scoring lines. The Blues can roll 4 lines. I will put the Blues 3rd and 4th line up against the Avalanche 3rd and 4th line any day of the week. I will put the Blues defense, with the exception, yes, Mikhail Makar is otherworldly. I get that. But he's an offensive defenseman, not a defensive defenseman. I will put the Blues defense against the Colorado's defense. This and not only that, I'll put Bennington against Kemper all day long.
Oh yeah, I would take that bet easily. I'll take Bennington all day.
Well, everybody keeps talking about Makar. Oh, Makar.
It's not just Makar.
They're already putting him in the Hall of Fame. A lot of Avs fans are. And I said, listen, he's great. I will tell you, he is the top guy right now at his age. But let's see where he is at age 30, because a lot of guys come into the league and they light it up offensively, and then they get a little bit older and people start to figure out their game, what their tendencies are. Hey, the guy might be one of the best ever. I don't know, but I like to wait at least 4 or 5 years to judge. And, a lot of people are forgetting about Devon Toews. Devon Toews is a good player. He's a really good player. But all I hear Blues fans talking about is, we're going to make Makar pay. We're going to make Makar. Well, that's fine. But you better focus on Devon Toews, because he's pretty damn good.
I was going to say, like I said, that's that third line I was telling you about. Every time Nashville would check, line 1 and 2, Devon Toews would show up, and Jared Bednar, being the guy he is, he loves to play chess, and he'll love to move guys. You're like, why is this guy starting on the 4th line? Yeah, this guy should be like your 3rd, or back, going to the 2nd line. And when Nashville was getting tired, it turned into the Avs literally just looked like 2 guys at a pond playing keep away from another dude. And it can get brutal. And that's the thing is, I'm afraid. My main thing is I'm afraid of Eric Johnson's line. EJ has tendencies to get lazy, and when he gets lazy, the Avs get lit up every time.
Well, you know, that's one of the reasons the Blues traded him for Stewart and Shattenkirk all those years ago. I actually talked to John Davidson, who was the GM back then. I was a season ticket holder, a high-end season ticket holder, and I called his phone number and left a voicemail. He called me, and I'm not joking you. This is how St. Louis teams are. He called me from the tarmac after like a 5-1 loss to the Islanders because their plane was stuck on the tarmac. He goes, "Is this Mr. Descott?" I said, "Yes." Who am I speaking to? He goes, "This is John Davidson, general manager of the St. Louis Blues." I'm like, "Yeah, right." He starts talking to me, and he basically said, without coming up and saying it, he basically said the reason we traded Johnson was we saw more upside with Stewie and with Shattenkirk, and nothing against Eric, but he takes shifts off. And that's one of the reasons why they traded him. And you can still see it even after all these years. There's times I'm like, why did the Blues get rid of him? And then there's other times I'm like, now I see why the Blues got rid of him.
Yeah, Wall wanted him gone for a while. Like I think it was like during those that 1 year when we were dead last in the league.
Yep.
Wall wanted him gone, and Joe was like, "No, I'm not getting rid of him." But this year, I've noticed every time EJ starts playing lazy, that's when Jared, calls up one of the other guys and sends EJ down. And
that's one thing about Bednar. He's not going to put up with that, whether you've been in the league 3 years or whether you've been in the league 10 years. If you're lazy like that, and to me, guys, I don't know if we brought it up. We're all talking about slowing down McKinnon and Taves and all these other guys. People talk about McKinnon. Nobody on the Blues is as fast as him. Well, I beg to differ. There's a young man named Jordan Kyrou.
Kyrou flies.
Kyrou definitely flies. That dude stops on a dime. I was watching him during that Wild game, during the Wild series, and I was like, is anyone going to check this dude? Like, I was seeing the play before it developed. I'm like, this guy is literally – he will either come out really fast, come from the outside from the blue line, and then either crash the net and stop before he gets to the net, and everyone's focused on him. And it was always, one-time saucer right there waiting. And I'm like, why is no one checking this kid? At least do something.
Yeah. In the Wild series, they started checking him in Game 5. Finally, they started hitting him hard, trying to get him off his game, and it really didn't do that. But another thing I think we need to talk about is, and Guy and I, you guys haven't been on the show, but Guy and I have really lambasted Berube for not making adjustments in-game adjustments. Well, in the series against the Wild, he did that a lot. So I think the series is also going to come down to, if one team isn't performing well, which guy is going to make those adjustments? Is it going to be Bednar? Is it going to be Berube? Who's going to be willing to change the lines up more? And I think that's a great topic to talk about.
I agree, and I think it's going to be who plays chess better with their pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, man! I'm going to do this now. Right? No. So what you're missing is I talk about the undercurrent of the game all the time, and I have talked about hockey being a chess game on ice, and most people look at me like I'm nuts. But here we are, bringing up exactly what I talk about. It is a chess game on ice. There are moves that need to be made. There are things that are going to need to be done, and you're going to have to neutralize the two queens. Well, in this case, the two queens are McKinnon, I think I got that right, and Tarasenko.
Yeah.
How do you neutralize either or of them? And here's the other thing. This is the part that's missed. Blues had 9 20-goal scorers. They didn't need 4 of them in the Montreal series and still won that series. If the Blues score their 4 goals a game, 5 goals a game, they're winning this series because I think defensively they are a better team.
Yeah, and I want to give everybody my background since I didn't get on here at first. I think that's always good when you get on a call. I played hockey from the time I moved out from California to Illinois from the age of 6 until I had a stroke at the age of 42. Knocked out my balance and a few other things. I played all the way up to college, was offered a college scholarship by University of Minnesota Duluth. I was also gone after by 2 junior teams in the WHL. So that's where I get my experience from, and also been a fan since I was 4 years old. I actually used to go watch the Golden Seals play out in Oakland when I was a kid. So
That's the name I haven't heard in a while.
that's
Now we're talking.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
my background. I'll be 53 this year, and I don't know if everybody else knows their backgrounds, but I always like to do that. I think people can either respect you more or they don't understand you more if you don't know the background of people. But yeah, I'm with Guy. I think that everybody's too focused on O'Reilly, McKinnon, and McCarr. My main focus, I think, is it's not going to be the top two lines that are going to be the difference in my opinion in the series.
Bottom two lines.
It's going to be the lines 3 and 4, and whichever teams it plays the best in lines 3 and 4, that's who's going to win this series. And I mean, if it happens otherwise, I won't be shocked. But in my mind, when I look at both series, how they played each other, how the Preds played against the Avs, and how the Blues played against the Wild, it's going to be lines 3 and 4, and who gets the best defensive pairings out there on the ice.
Well, I was also gonna say a big thing with the Blues is Torrey Krug and what's his name, Scandella back.
That's the other question mark. I mean,
Scandella is skating and should be back game 1. Krug is a question mark, but they do think that we will have him in the series eventually.
Yeah, he hasn't skated yet though, so it'd probably be
Yeah.
at least till game 2 or 3, maybe 4 till he came back.
Because I know Bertuzzo's back as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bortuzzo's
They-
back,
Bortuzzo's
Letty's
back.
back.
Definitely possibilities. Is
Yeah,
what they
and
said.
guys, I'm going to tell you, if your Avs fans aren't talking about these two guys, they're going to be, and that's going to be Mikkola and Perinovich.
Yeah.
They are two very good young defensemen. As long as they stay home and do what they're supposed to, they can't, they can't be the guys that chase around your guys' offensive guys. They've got to stick with them, but they're not going to be able to skate with that top line. They're fast, but nobody's going to skate with McKinnon besides Kyrou. I mean, to be honest with you.
I was gonna say
But you don't, and that's the thing. This is something that got missed. You don't have to skate with them.
No, guy, that's not. I'm not saying
You
skate
don't
to
have,
keep
but
up with
don't
them.
hit him.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying to stick to them. You don't have to skate with them to stick to them. You can stick to them without, flying down the ice with them.
I remember that series. In the last series, I think it was game 3. McKinnon's coming down the right side, and got Tarasenko in front of him. First of all, Tarasenko shouldn't be in front of McKinnon. That should be a defenseman. But Tarasenko went for the hit instead of staying with him, and because he went for the hit, McKinnon's able to dodge it, get past him, and have the one-on-one against Bennington, and McKinnon's good enough to win that one-on-one battle. If Tarasenko doesn't try and hit McKinnon and just keeps his stick in the lane and forces McKinnon wide instead of giving him the lane to the net, it's a totally different story.
Yeah,
Well,
the only time you want to hit McKinnon is if he's up against the boards and messing around with the puck. If you try to hit him in the open ice, like you said, Guy, and I watched some of the Pred series, and I've watched probably 20, 30 games of the Avs this year. Teams make that mistake with him. They don't stick to him. They try to hit him, and he's just going to skate around you 99% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on top of that, you also have to look at what McKinnon did in that series, because as soon as they got onto him and figured out what he was doing, he then turned into more of a different player. He then started looking for the open pass and causing more issues that way, or he'll go back and make a hit, to get, wake up the team or anything. He became more of a team player. So then they will go, all right, back to focusing on Nathan and everything he's doing. And then that's leaving guys like Kell to be in the open ice to do whatever he wants. That's leaving Devin Tays, who for some reason sort of reminded me of the goal from the Florida and Washington series. For some reason, they keep leaving Devin Tays in the slot wide open.
Wide open, yep. That's why I think you got to watch.
Tays has one of the more deceptive shots in the league. I know it sounds like complete utter than piling on the BS, but it really is true. I mean, it was one of the frustrating things watching him. It seemed like every time the Islanders played the Devils, he'd do something. So it's just like, ugh, and it's like when he got traded, I look, I'm not going to lie. I almost did cartwheels in the streets because it's like, finally, he's out West. And then now, of course, you realize it's like you come full circle. You covered a league long enough. And Guy, can I toss my background out there just for fun?
Yeah. Go
Sure.
ahead, man.
Go ahead, buddy.
Okay, so besides being this schmuck that's the injury ninja and some nightmare bear thing that you'll see on Twitter occasionally, actually, I played hockey pretty much from when I could probably crawl.
Cool.
I played, New Jersey traveling team up through high school. I had a number of scouts from the Devils actually scout
Awesome.
me because for some reason, a guy that's like 5'7" and 175 pounds that plays like he's half nuts or maybe fully nuts is intriguing to scouts. I don't know why. There were more than a few times where I had my coach literally like yank me by the ear on the ice, like literally like look up. So that was just one of those things. Unfortunately, one of my last games of the year was literally my last competitive game as a hockey player. I actually broke my ankle on a dry patch. We used to call it concrete sledge ice.
Yeah.
And I hit a patch that was about maybe 3 inches long. That was it. My
Mm.
foot stopped. My skate kept going.
Oh.
Ouch.
And all I can remember is my dad sitting there going like, well, son, the bad news is your hockey playing days are probably over from a competitive sense. He's like, the good news is we're going to go for ice cream after this is and it's a true story.
Hey.
I mean, he sat there, he waited with me the 2.5 hours I sat in the emergency room, got the ankle set, the foot set, and he took me for ice cream. And I mean, I played synth.
Yeah.
I transitioned to basically becoming a writer.
Oh, cool.
And at that point, I got into the locker room for the 2000 Devils Cup and the 2003 Devils Cup. And have been able to cover them on and off. And then obviously I branched out into the league.
Awesome.
And from there,
I want to ask you one thing, Chris, and I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
That's okay.
Hockey is your life, and people don't understand. I mean, I play baseball. I love baseball, but it wasn't to me what hockey was. And when I had my stroke and I couldn't play anymore, it devastated me. If somebody would have said you can't talk again because of your stroke, I'd have been fine. I'd have been fine with it. And about September, October, when they start talking about hockey, I really miss it. Are you the same way?
I've always been that way. I mean, I snuck my way back in. I play in a roller ball hockey league, and that started in New Jersey. It's the NRBL.
Yep.
And one of my friends was like, "Yeah, you're a natural. You got to join it. You're half nuts." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm also half the man I used to be."
I also have one ankle.
You know what though? That's the weird part. Like, as long as I don't have a skate on, I'm okay. As long as it's either this is going to sound really weird. I can skate better on a roller skate than I can on a rollerblade.
No, it doesn't sound weird because a roller skate molds to your foot, and the way they make them is a little bit different. And when you go to skate,
your whole foot is
and
it's grounded.
Yeah. It's people say, well, I can roller skate, I can ice skate. Nah, they're two different things. Now,
they're definitely two different things.
Yeah, because I can ice skate better than roller skate.
You see, that's why I played roller hockey. I can't ice skate, but I can roller skate.
Well, we all know what happened when I tried to ice skate.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
90 minutes,
But that's where the fun is in this. And it's like, my question for everybody in this series, and we'll just turn the tables a little bit. And Guy's going to probably kill me now.
No, go for it, man.
It's not what is the X factor of this series. Oh, no. It's what is the unexpected factor that figures into the series that we maybe aren't seeing.
Chris, did you read my message?
I was going to say, if you think about it, for the Avs, even though he's been kind of quiet, not really, but Mr. Nazem has been very productive on the assist side and not easily being baited into fights. And if you saw when Nashville started going up high and doing stuff, Kadri actually just walked away and took the high road, and then came back out 2 minutes later and scored on the same dude that was sitting there hitting him in the face. So, Kadri, I would say Kadri and Devin Tays are going to be those silent guys that are gonna be the guys that sneak up last second. And for the Blues, with their defense finally coming back, like I said, it's gonna be a grind game. I think it's gonna be who's gonna have the best bully defense wins the series. To be honest, and both teams, man, it's hard to call right now. I'm gonna say Avs just because I'm an Avs fan, but to be honest, as a hockey fan, it's just gonna be good hockey to sit back and watch and drink your beer.
Yep, agreed. And mine, if you guys want me to go next, I can.
Go.
I've got 2 X factors for the Avs, and I think Josh Manson is a great addition and came up big for them. But my X factor is going to be Girard. I really think Samuel Girard's going to be an X factor in this series.
If he could stop causing penalties.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to next, buddy. Is he going to be able to put up with these bigger guys, the Blues' bigger defense, pushing him around a little bit? And is he going to overact? And that's my X factor with them. And with the Blues, I know this is going to sound strange, but which David Perron are we going to see? Are we going to see the David Perron that scores 2 or 3 goals in one game and is the player that we all think he can be? Or is it going to be the guy that takes stupid penalties? And in my mind, that's a key. And I know the Blues have a great penalty kill, but the Avalanche also have a very good power play. So those are my X factors. A lot of people say Bennington, Kemper, but I'm really looking to see how Girard reacts to the big bodies that St. Louis has.
You see, I'm kind of thinking in the same way about Kadri, except I'm afraid the Blues are going to pay too much attention to him because they're still angry with what happened with Falk in the last playoff series. And if they focus on Kadri, it's going to be a downfall.
I was going to say,
I don't think so. I think if that would have transpired, that would have transpired in the next to last game of the season, and it didn't. There was no.
I didn't think Kadri played.
Did he not play?
No, he was scratched.
Okay.
They rested, what was it, 12 players?
Yeah, I think it was over 10
injuries.
Players, yeah.
Because when they said Landeskog was having foot surgery, Landeskog lives like right down the street from the stadium. And there's a little park down off Little Raven Street. It's right by Ball Arena. And he was hanging out with his kids when they're like, oh, yeah, he has successful surgery. And I'm sitting there looking at him like, this man has no stitches or anything on his knees. He's out there in flip-flops enjoying life. So the old hockey adage where upper body or lower body injury, we're not going to say anything really. We're giving them some last vacation time before, 16 games of hell happen.
Yeah. No, I get that. For me, the X factors, they're the same for both teams, actually. Right? And there are 2 of them. And I think the biggest one, and I flip-flopped on this a little bit, I could actually, this is like 1A, 1B for me. First one is goaltending. Which goaltender is going to make the stops that you're not supposed to make? And right now, that's Bennington. But Kemper can do it too. Kemper has a good defense in front of him. Bennington has a good defense in front of him. They're both very good goalies. Kemper, this is the first time I think he's ever been out of the second round, or into the second round. Bennington's been there and done that. I give Bennington credit for being there, done that. He came into the Wild series when the Blues needed it and shut the Wild down. Has a 1.67 goals against average and a 948 save percentage. He's the only one in the playoffs that's 3-0. No other goalie is 3-0.
Darcy is.
No, he's not.
Well, he went 2-0. Yep, you're right.
Right, because he came out of the game.
Yeah,
right?
He didn't get the credit for the win.
Yeah, because it was only
it went to overtime.
5 minutes in the.
It went
was
to
only
overtime.
5 minutes into that game.
Yeah. So, with that being said, to me, that's X factor number 1. X factor number 2 is simply special teams. The Blues, you guys talked about the penalty in that. Colorado had a 9% success rate against the Blues in 3 games. 9%. 1 for 11. That's saying something. This isn't. I know it's 3 games, but you're talking about a team that is in the 20%. I think for the season they were like 21, 22. They were in the top 10. And against the Blues, the number 5 penalty kill team, and tied for the best special teams team in the league, they had 9%. That's huge. That is really huge. And then you look at this. This is if Colorado wants to play that rough game, which I think that's what they're going to come out and try and do, right? They're going to try and play that heavy game. And I think the Blues learned something against the Wild about playing heavy. There's a time to play heavy, and there's a time to not. And when you chase hits, you lose. We should have learned that against Colorado. We didn't. We learned it against Minnesota. If they don't chase hits and Colorado tries to play heavy, this series it could be a short one.
Yeah.
And not the way everybody expects. And not the way everybody expects. I think the two biggest X factors are goaltending, who can make the stops who can make the saves you're not supposed to make, and special teams, who is what we thought they were. Right? And that's what it comes for me. Who in the Wild series, the Blues are who we thought they were. They came into that series and did the exact same things that they did in the regular season, and it won in 4 games. 4 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals, 5 goals. 4 wins. 1 goal, 2 goals, 2 losses. Get your 4 goals, stop the other team, you win the game.
The other thing I would have to say is I think another could be a crucial factor is Bo Byram and Samuel Girard. That last game that ended up going into overtime, if you look at that was a turnover by Samuel. That was a power play by Sam Girard. And then Bo, he has a lot of issues on the blue line as of recently. There's some of those power plays against Nashville when he was out there. Simple passes come into Bo, and he can't handle them. And the Avs will have to reset and come back. And I've noticed the Blues are a really good blue line team. They're really hard to, just drive into the net. You're usually going to get checked immediately or touched in some form of way before you get past anyone. And that's why, you bringing up the 9% with the Avs power play and stuff. It could be, especially since the Blues play a diamond PK, and the Avs use that single stretch, which is a power play that the Capitals use with Ovechkin sitting alone in that circle waiting. The Blues, they don't allow that. Yeah, that diamond formation is the same thing I learned when I was playing for Arvada.
Well, they play what I call a collapsing diamond. They start in a square, shift and collapse, and then come back out.
Yeah,
right. If you notice that, so they'll start in the square, right? Then they'll shift to where it's the diamond. They collapse it, and then they come back out towards the puck. And it takes the open guys aren't open because there's no passing lane.
Yeah, because the puck gets pushed against the boards, and then when you're sitting there playing board play for 2 minutes, there goes your power play back to even strength, and then all it takes is one flick of the puck going up the other way, one-on-one situations, 2-on-1 situations, and the Avs are known for not paying attention to stuff like that and getting burned. And the last 2 years, that's how we got burned last year in the playoffs. We become one-dimensional, and once you become one-dimensional, pretty much they got damage. But just letting you guys know, I got to get out of here. The Wi-Fi.
Okay. Yeah. Hey,
all right, buddy.
Marco, thanks for showing up, man. I know you got to go. I know you had to go, but thanks for. I mean, we broke this Avs series down really well. Before you go, we can do our predictions later. What's your predictions for the Avs Blues series?
Avs Blues series. Of course, I'm taking the Avs, but I'm gonna take the Avs in 6.
Okay. The Battle of Alberta.
Battle of Alberta, I'm going to go with the Oilers only because Evander Kane is finally getting away from the drama, and he's been a support player when Connor breaks down. So they're starting to wake up.
Battle of Florida?
I won a 96 rematch, so I'm taking the Panthers. Ekblad is playing really good hockey right now.
And then do the Carolinas take a bite out of the Big Apple?
I think Carolina's going to run over the Rangers. Rangers technically shouldn't even got out of that series, if I'm being honest. And yeah, Carolina is about to have fun in that series.
Actually, I like the Rangers. I was not surprised that they got out of that series at all, to be honest with you. I was surprised they got down 3-1. Marco, thank you so much. Hopefully you can tell the rest of the guys in Coast to Coast Hockey how much fun it is to come on this show. Hopefully you got some great questions from our fan base and you enjoyed it and you'll come on again. You know, we're playing, so if you can come on during games, because we do a pregame, postgame, and intermission shows, like what we're doing here, but live reactions, talking about the game, you're more than welcome to come on, my friend.
Oh, yeah, I think I'm actually free tomorrow, so just let me know. And
okay, well, half hour before or an hour before game time.
I heard half hour before game time. Right,
hour,
yeah.
1 hour, 1 hour.
Oh, 1 hour.
Yep, we do an hour for the playoffs. Again, Marco, thank you so much for joining us. Marco from Coast to Coast Hockey. Have a wonderful night, Marco.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh wow, man, guys. Thank you. That was a great breakdown. But we still got 3 more series to break down.
Yeah.
Ashley, it's on you, girl. Take it away.
I want to start with the Battle of Florida. Personally, I think that this one is going to go 7 games, but I think that the Panthers are going to just demolish Tampa Bay. I really just don't see a three-peat coming for Tampa Bay. But what are your guys' thoughts?
Chris?
You know what? This is the weirdest series to predict because there is no way of knowing. Well, for one thing, barring some kind of medical miracle, Braden Point's not playing at least the first 2 games. He couldn't put any weight on his leg. I mean, it looked as bad as it could be. Now, maybe there's some magic in that, old silk hat they found. Yeah, I know it sounds way too much like Frosty the Snowman, but that's going to be a big impact. Obviously, Nikita Kucherov just woke up in time to basically save Tampa season. Here's the thing, and this is the dynamic. Tampa can play a series where it's just ugly. And Florida, they've had 1 or 2 brushes with it, and it didn't go well. How ugly can Tampa Bay make this? And can Florida get some of their depth scorers who kind of went a little MIA against Washington of all teams, which was a mild surprise because Washington's defense down the middle is it's really porous, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And that has to be considered in this, and that's where when you're starting to get into any kind of prediction for this series or what could happen in this series. Yeah, 1, it starts with goaltending, but 2, it starts with ugly. It really does. How ugly is Florida willing to make this series? Given, look, Tampa escaped. I mean, we could sit there with the clear cut and say Tampa escaped out of Toronto. They basically won because Toronto's mental psyche was shot after that disallowed goal. That's just how it was. I mean, up until that point, Toronto did absolutely everything right you could ask them to. They were in that series. There's no way anybody can ever say that they choked that series away. It just came down to they could not score when they needed to. Mm-hmm. And part of that was because the 1 goal was taken away.
Yep.
Now, Florida has the firepower to keep up with Tampa Bay, but in a weird sense, which Sergei Bobrovsky are we going to get? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I've tried to figure this out, and even from game to game and series to series, you never quite know. Are you going to get that magic Bobrovsky that just absolutely stonewalled Tampa a few years ago?
I'll let Lance talk next, but real quick, these 4 series, you have 8 prime
quality,
almost elite goalies, right? If not elite, just under elite. Bobrovsky, Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, Anderson is going to be back. You have Kemper. You have Bennington. You have Smith and Markstrom.
Yep.
Guys, did I miss anybody?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think I got them all. To me, that's just, and you're talking the cream of the crop in the goaltenders to me. But Lance, what do you think on this series? Sorry, man.
No, that's all right. I'm with him. Which goalie's going to show up? Is it going to be the Bobrovsky that can shut people down and allows just 1 or 2 goals a game? Is it going to be the Bobrovsky that makes great saves but allows 2 terrible goals that he should have made saves on? A lot of people were on Andrei Vasilevsky after about 4 or 5 games in that Toronto series, thinking anybody who thinks this guy is a top elite goalie is off. Look at what the Leafs have done. Well, you know what? The Leafs have done that to a lot of goalies this year. The Leafs are great offensively, and I said at the beginning of the year they're not going to do well in the playoffs because of defense and up and down goaltending, and that ended up what killed them, basically. I just think Tampa has too much, and although Florida's defensemen can be offensive, I think the Lightning's defensemen are really more offensive than Florida's. Victor Hedman had 7 points in the Leafs series, I think 6 or 7. And getting back to Andrei Vasilevsky, was he great in the first 4 or 5 games? No. Was he good enough to win those games? Yes. But the last 2 games, man, he showed up big. There were save after save after save. And I'm with him. If it wasn't for Vasilevsky in those last 2 games, we're not talking about a Tampa-Florida series. We're talking about a Maple Leafs Florida series. And I just think, in my mind, it comes down to me, the number one issue is going to be goaltending. To me, that, you hate to break it down that way, but to me, it's going to be goaltending. And then can Florida stop the offensive nature of Tampa-based defensemen, including Victor Hedman? To me, that's going to be huge. And again, coaching. I think John Cooper right now, in my mind, personally, out of all the playoff coaches, is the best coach in the league. He knows how to handle his players. He knows how to make adjustments when he needs to. And he makes those adjustments without getting so far off the core of his game plan. And did he have it rough in that first series? Yeah. Like you said, this series could have went to the Leafs. But I think it's just going to come down to goaltending. And I think Andrei Vasilevsky is one of the best goaltenders, is the best goaltender in the league right now. And I think if he keeps playing this way, he's going to retire as one of the top 50 goalies in the league to ever play the game. So that's what it comes down to me.
Now, so for me, this series, you wanted to know how dirty they're going to play. They're going to play as dirty as Pat Maroon's going to let them play. I mean, that's not being a jackass or being a St. Louis homer or anything. Pat Maroon is that type of player, right? And he's gritty. He gets in there. He's the guy that gets under your skin, but he's not a dirty player per se, right? I don't think he's a dirty player. I don't think he's ever been fined. I don't think he's ever been suspended. He may have been fined, but I don't think he's ever been suspended. But he is that guy that gets in your head. And if he's allowed to do that, then yes, Tampa can win this. Now, I really thought that this was going to be Toronto's year. I had Toronto making the next step in this one. And with Florida beating Toronto, I still think Florida will beat. I think Florida's going to beat it, but it's a 6 or a 7 matchup. We're going to see. I don't think we're going to see a short series in any of these. We're not going to see a sweep. We're not going to see a 5-gamer. Oh my goodness, they stole one. It's going to be a battle. On all 4 of these series are designed that way. These teams are very evenly matched. Like I said at the beginning, the difference between the first and the last team is minuscule. Now you put it under an electron microscope, there's a little bit of difference there, but not as much as everyone thinks. Chris, do the numbers agree with me or they disagree with me, bud?
I mean, this one's fun because obviously, you have Tampa that can easily score 4 goals a game at home. Now, to be fair, no point. We think maybe a banged up Kucherov, perhaps, or at least was banged up at some point during the Leafs series. But I'll point to this, and I mean, I'm probably jumping this a little bit, but Nick Paul has actually stepped in for Braden Point, and I mean, look, the former Ottawa Senator. I can hear it now from Toronto fans. It's like Ottawa would have to find a way to do us in. And that look, when the dust settled the other night, that was the first thing I got from Gus Casares. He's like, "Can you believe an Ottawa Senator reject is the reason why we're not in the playoffs anymore?" He's like, other than the disallowed goal, he's like, look, he's like, Nick Paul literally killed us the last half of the series, and he is one of those players that could really benefit against what is a soft middle for Florida when it comes their not just defense, but their team defense. Look, I've said this from the beginning. You could attack the Barkov line offensively, and you could do it all. That's been that way for the last since I can remember. And because the key to Barkov's success with that line and that entire line as a whole is their best defense is their offense. If you get them playing defense, you can cause just a boatload of problems. And that's what Tampa in these games has excelled at better than just about any team in the league. And there's your big difference maker. You know, guys
well,
like Nick
I mean,
Paul.
I've been looking at some of these comments,
Yeah.
and I don't want to post most of them because these guys are having
they're really having fun
with each other,
as they should.
They made someone made the comment, the Avs and Calgary. I think it was the Avs and the
no, it was Edmonton.
Yeah, the Avs and the Oilers are both have 5-game series watch. I can't see it.
Nope.
I honestly can't see it.
There's certain ways that can happen, and it's funny because you know the yank back to the Avs series really really quick. The bookies seem to be focused on that, especially in Vegas, and I don't know why. I mean, if you look at like the series outcome, not the series prediction, because they're actually two different things. The series outcome is almost laser focused on 5 games,
and that doesn't make any sense to me. And not only that, like Money Puck is one of the big predictors out there, right?
Yep.
Money Puck had Minnesota winning this series 70%. Almost 70%. It was like 68%. They've got the same number.
That's what worries me.
With Colorado.
A little bit.
Money Puck got it wrong big time. And I've been watching Money Puck even when St. Louis was in second. And you know they were close. They were bopping back and forth. Money Puck consistently had St. Louis like not even having a shot at the finals at all. And I kept saying, what are you seeing that I'm not? Because first of all, if St. Louis is going to play Minnesota, we're the Penguins to the Capitals. We're the Blackhawks to the Blues. We're the second round to Toronto and Edmonton. You know, we're that hump that they can't get over, and they hadn't shown me anything this season that they could get over that. And sorry, I'm getting.
It's perfectly fine because I mean when you look at the tiers as far as even the odds, you're looking at St. Louis, who is ranging like around from 1,400 to 1,800 still now, and there's your value. I mean you have little bits of value. So in the first tier, Tampa's like +6 to 800 depending on where you. I saw a 750 or 800 yesterday. There's your first tier value at the very bottom. Then you go down to the second tier. And it's like, you could go with the Rangers, but I think there's problems there with the matchup. Then get into that later. But the Blues are right there.
Yeah.
And it won't take much. I mean, the points have to be considered. The Blues, it's not a fluke, shot 12.4% this year. Led the league. Second on the power play.
I don't
you start scoring chances at home, top 5 in the league. You know, they're high danger scoring chances, 3rd at home.
Yeah.
7th on the road. I mean, this is something that and disciplined. Unlike previous years,
Blues are very disciplined.
Miners taken 3rd in the league at 7.5 penalty minutes per game.
Yeah, you're talking about the Blues,
by the
right?
way, Colorado's down on 20th.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's a lot of statistical, like Connor McDavid. McDavid MVP says it does make sense because 3 games you played, the Avs dominated, and 2 of the games they were playing, they were their AHL team. You know what? You play the pinch put in front of you, right? And second of all, you look at when they played. They played at the beginning of the season. They played at the end of the season. Beginning of the season, these are 2 totally different teams. And at the end of the season, the last 2 games, positions were set. They didn't care. So those 2 games, I'm looking at the rest of the numbers. I'm looking at all the rest of the numbers, and everything else tells me that this Blues team. And here's the other thing. I had the story so far. Vince put something up a couple days ago. He had said Toronto has more stars, but Tampa has the experience, and that matters. You could say the exact same thing for this series. You could say the exact same thing.
The experience. Vegas, even to a lesser extent, had the experience against Colorado, had just enough to get by them.
There are, and here's the thing that we didn't talk about, and we'll get back to it. But there's one thing about we didn't talk about when I mentioned the X factors. Bennington being a third defenseman, Colorado is one of the best dump and run teams. But if you're dumping and the puck's coming out every single time, you got to come in on the rush, and they're good at it, but they're not great. And they're a 1 line on the rush. They don't have 2 or 3 lines that can come in on the rush. And I think that bodes well for the Blues. But let's skip that and let's get to the next series because we're Oh man,
this is gonna be fireworks.
So since they seem to want to continue to talk about it, let's go with the Battle of
Alberta. Start with you, Lance.
Well, I think one of the big reasons that the Oilers won that first series is because Mike Smith played, to me, better than I expected him to play. I just think that he was better than Jonathan Quick in most of the games. I thought Jonathan Quick kept the Kings in a lot of those games with his experience, but I think it was Mike Smith who was the better out of the 2. I know a lot of people would disagree with me. This series is going to come down to one thing, and I'm going to keep my remarks very, very short. Can Edmonton handle the physicality of the Flames? Do they have enough guys who can not necessarily hit you and kill you, but enough guys to be physical with the Flames? Because the Flames are going to bring it. They brought it in that first series, and it was one of the reasons that they won the series. But, the difference to me in this year, in other years, and I think we'll all agree, in the years that the Flames have made the playoffs, Johnny Gaudreau has been nil. He's been nothing. And I said at the beginning, if Guy and Ashley remember, the Flames will go as Johnny Gaudreau goes. And this is his best playoff series he's ever had. If he keeps it up, the Flames will beat the Oilers in my mind. I love McDavid, and I wish him the best. But I just think the Flames are going to be too physical for the Oilers to handle. I like Darnell Nurse. I think he's a good defenseman, but I just think that the Flames have too much physicality and too much overall scoring. I know, they're talking about Draisaitl possibly being back, but I just think the Flames have too much. It's not going to be a short series. It'll be, I think, a 6-game series at least, but I just think the Flames have too much.
Okay, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, the biggest concern I have with Draisaitl is his ability to take a face-off at this point and be able to put weight on that right leg. Let's call for what it is. He doesn't just have one injury, unfortunately. It's rough to gauge what is the worst of the 2, quote unquote, 2 injuries as of this moment. So, that's a big concern. The other is like what you just talked about. I mean, look, for a lack of a better word, Darnell Nurse gets muscled off the puck like Donovan McNabb gets muscled on Sundays. That was a joke that every New York fan had come, against the Eagles for many years, but it applies here. I mean, like older, like uncle, like nephew. You hate to say it, but there's just times where he gets muscled off plays that there is no way he should, and because of that, what usually happens is he goes for the big hit and misses, and usually makes that poor decision. And the Oilers have been guilty of that against LA a few times. I mean, Adrian Kemp made them pay at least 2 or 3 times in that series alone off of plays that there's no way Kemp should have a scoring chance. And because somebody went for just this ridiculously hellacious hit instead of just making the play, Kemp waltzes right in, beats Smith, and Smith's like looking like, two guys there. And, I mean, the guy's 40 years old. I mean, he's kind of just looking like, I mean, there was one instance where you kind of see it at the end of one of the games where it's like, just kind of looks at Smith, just kind of looks at Nurse like, huh?
Yeah.
It's like, I think that was after Game 5.
Yeah,
where
they focused on Smith, and he's like, "What the hell was that?"
And look, Mike Smith is guilty of making his own decisions. Obviously, game 1 of that series, but I mean, it's just one of those things where you sit there and go, "Holy dear God, which team is going to dictate their pace of play?"
Yeah.
Because look, Dallas sucked Calgary in. I mean, they didn't just suck them in; they sucked them into a vortex that I thought they were never going to get out. And you have to give Calgary at least credit in the sense that they were able to find ways to manufacture a ton of scoring chances and shots. Yes, Jake Ottinger was a brick wall, and he made saves that we're still probably going to be talking about for the next few rounds at least. But is Mike Smith capable of that? And the answer is yes and no. That's the thing. You don't really know, and that's what makes the fun of this series. I mean, look, I sat there during Hockey Night in Canada this year with my nice little center ice package, my nice little cubby hole, and was just amazed at the pace of play in every one of these games.
Mm-hmm.
It did not disappoint, and I don't expect it to in this series. I expect what you saw in the regular season to see in the playoffs, and only way more intensified. And that plays into Calgary's hands.
Yep.
Because Calgary can roll more lines and play at that pace than Edmonton can right now.
There's one thing that the X factor in this series for me is Ghost. Yes, and to quote one of my favorite television shows, Ted Lasso, right? Where they learned that their training room at one time was used to enlist boys in World War I, and like 400 of them were enlisted, and most of them didn't come back. One of the guys says, "How do we beat that many ghosts?" Well, that's the thing. You can't beat that many ghosts, and Connor McDavid can't beat the ghost of Edmonton past. And that's what he's got to do. And the ghost of Edmonton past, the ghost of, and I just went blank.
Gretzky?
Huh? Gretzky and Fuhrer and all of those guys, right? Jari and
Curry,
Curry, all of those, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking.
Coffee.
That ghost is still there, and they haven't figured out how to honor those ghosts to get beyond them. And for me, that's the thing that's going to stop them, is that ghost. And I do think that the other thing in this series is the one we haven't talked about is Tkachuk. Tkachuk made himself known in the last series, and because they keyed on Tkachuk, it opened up Gaudreau. Well, you get those two guys to where you can't figure out which one to key on, it opens up the other one. That one of the two is going to do something. For me, this series is all about Ghost. Yes, I know I'm weird. Well, that probably made no sense whatsoever.
No, it did.
Do we remember a couple years ago when people were burning Oilers jerseys and throwing them on the ice, and people couldn't believe that they were throwing $200, $300 jerseys on the ice? But I know a lot of people up there from doing business up there, and yes, every year comes around, they compare that team to the team from the 80s. And I keep telling them, guys, that's the past. McDavid isn't Wayne Gretzky. He's very good, but he is no Wayne Gretzky. Draisaitl is no Messier. He's good, but he's not that type of player. You guys got to get past that. Stop thinking about the past. But I agree with you guys. It's about those past ghosts, and the fans are the same way. The fans look back and say, well, this team wasn't as good as the 85 team. Well, hell, what team was as good as the 85 team since then?
85 team had what, 8 Hall of Famers on it?
Yeah, I mean, Wayne Gretzky has enough. If you take away Wayne Gretzky's goals and only rely on his assist, he's still the number one scorer of all time, guys.
By like 300 points.
How can you live up to that?
Yeah. Right. I got it. And that's what it is to me. That's what it is. I see Chris smiling, so I think Chris agrees with me too. Ash, what do you got on this one? It's a lot of fun.
I mean, you guys pretty much hit it. It's going to depend a lot on which Mike Smith shows up. He is injury prone, and he played very hard in the series prior. So is he going to have enough oomph to get them through? I just don't see that happening for Edmonton. Plus, I have to just think back at the type of player that McDavid is. And as you've said many times before on the show, Guy, he is not somebody that builds his teammates up. He is a one-man show, and he isn't going to be able to do that. Calgary is going to have his number. Are they going to be able to produce with anyone else?
He's Jamie Tart.
Yeah, and another thing, if something happens to Bennington, I feel comfortable with Husso being in goal. If something happens to Smith, I do not feel comfortable with Mikko Koskinen being in goal. Not at all.
Because Calgary is lasering in on that high glove side like no one's business.
Exactly.
No, I mean, it's going to be a good – all of these series are really good series. There's no 8 team that snuck in that's going to get swept in the next round. It's not there. This is 4 number ones, 2 number twos, 2 number threes. Every team, if I remember, I think I'm right. Every team that's in the playoffs now had 100 points. Every single team, all 8 of these teams had 100 points. Actually, no, Edmonton may not have.
I thought Edmonton
might have just missed it. So 7 of the 8. 7 of the 8 had 100 points.
I know they got close to it. I know they were like at 97 or 98.
I thought they were at 99, actually.
Yeah.
But my phone's loading. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. But while we're looking at that, let's get to the next series, and this is another fun one for me.
104 guys.
Say again?
Oh,
He's
yeah.
bigger.
Say again?
104
Yeah. Remember, they had that surge at the end of the year.
104.
Oh, did they hit 100?
I thought they did. Last time I checked, with about 7 games left, they were at 97 or 98.
Yeah.
So all 8 teams are 100-point teams.
Yeah.
This isn't the Kings of 12 and 14. It's not them, right? This is not those Kings. This is not Columbus in 19, beating the number 1 seed and then getting swept in the next round. It's not. These teams are very, very evenly matched. And the next series, I call it the Kane taking a bite out of the Big Apple, Hurricanes and the Rangers. And I got to tell you, I'll start this off because I think this is the Rangers. I really do. I think the Rangers are a lot better team than people are giving them credit for. I do. When I originally made that pick, because I picked the Rangers to win this one, I didn't think Anderson was coming back. I think Anderson changes it a little bit, but he's coming back with a lot of rust. He hasn't played in 2 weeks, right? Look at when Talbot came in after not playing for 2 weeks. It took the Blues all of 8 shots? 6 shots? Or no, 4 shots to get a goal on him. It didn't take much. And the Rangers are one of those teams that they build off themselves, right? They get a goal, they get another goal, they get another goal. They get another goal. They build off themselves. And that's what they did in Game 7. They built off themselves. Got a goal. They got goals when they needed to. And if they can get goals when they need to, I can see them winning this series. And then Shigerskin, the next coming of Brodeur, the next coming of Grant Fuhr, the next coming of Glenn Hall, he's playing goalie at an otherworldly level. And, as Blues fans know, that's all you need, because that's what we got. We got a Bennington that went and did something that no Blues goalie had ever done before and lifted him up to that level. He hit that mark, and we've had some fantastic Blues goalies in the playoffs. It just takes getting hot at the right time, and I think Shigerskin is.
It's going to be interesting because, I mean, Shesterkin, by his standards, had an awful first round. I mean, to a man, I mean, he played better in Game 7. And obviously, Game 1 was one for the ages. But I think Game 1 took a lot of starch out of him for the first half of that series. And it got heavily underestimated. Look, the Rangers are the ultimate rope-a-dope team.
Yeah.
You could look at advanced numbers until you're dead blue in the face, and they're all ugly. I mean, it's you look at sometimes and you go, this is a playoff. This is 100-point playoff team. Now, a few years ago, Carolina absolutely blew the barn doors off of them. I mean, it wasn't even close. That's not going to happen this time around. The key for the Rangers is this. They have an opportunistic power play. They have Chris Kreider, who scored 260 power play goals this year. Or at least it feels like it. It's actually 26.
Yeah.
But the key is which Carolina penalty kill shows up. Is it the one that we saw all throughout the regular season and the one that played against the Rangers during the regular season that pretty much held them in check? Or is it the one that showed some bits of vulnerability, especially in Boston? Because they're not going to be able to get away with that again, against the Rangers. The Rangers will make you pay, and make you pay often.
I think so too. I'm not sleeping on. I picked the Rangers to make the finals. I really did. And normally, if you look at it in an overall scheme, how with the March Madness, people say, if I say, I think this team's going to win and go backwards, and then if I go game by game, they're never the same, right? Well, going game by game, I looked at that first game with the Penguins and said, I actually said 6, but I should have said 7. And I knew it because I just felt it. But I think that this Ranger team with Panarin, with who's the other guy they got? The goalie with the I can't think of their other star now that's out there with Panarin.
I mean, you have Zibanejad, you have Panarin, you have Kreider, obviously.
Kreider, but there's one other one that I can't think off the top of my head. But they've got bodies out there that can make things happen. Carolina is a very, very, very good team. Don't get me wrong. They are a very good team. Their question mark for me is the biggest question mark. Anderson against Shigerskin, however you want to say it, right? I think that Capo, that's it. Capo Kaiko, that's who I was thinking of.
That's what I said earlier, and you didn't hear me.
Well, I didn't hear it, so. Come on, Denise, I'm half deaf.
Yeah, you're half deaf, but you can also hear halfway, so.
Yeah, be quiet. So I'm not sleeping on this team. You go series by series, and it's easy to see them advance to the next round.
Yeah. The only bad part about for the Rangers is this. Carolina, for some uncanny reason, has a real big X factor here. And it is going to loom in the series at some point. It's the elephant in the room.
What?
Tony DeAngelo. And he does seem to get under the skin of the Rangers. I mean, in almost every one of these matchups this year. And I understand that the matchup at the end of the year was important. I know some Ranger fans said, well, it wasn't. It was. And the fact that New York could not win that game in a game that they had to have if they want to entertain any chance of winning the division does speak some volumes. I mean, DeAngelo got under their skin. Whatever you think of this guy, that's just a mess in of itself. But on the ice, he is, in this series at least, going to be every bit as much of an offensive factor as one Adam Fox.
Well, I mean, I like this.
That can't sit well with Ranger fans at all. It just doesn't. And it doesn't. That's where it doesn't sit well with me as far as, could the Rangers advance? Absolutely. The problem is this. The Rangers have to get over themselves. They got through round one, helmet rules aside, they won. That's the bottom line. You survived.
Well, you know what? That helmet rules is everyone making
rule.
a big deal out of that.
Oh
all he had
God,
to do was bend down and
heard.
grab it and throw it on his head.
Yeah, this is all I've heard. You gotta remember, I'm 6 hours from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm literally right here from the mecca of, oh my God, my ears are gonna hurt from sports talk radio in New York. I mean, it's just a fact. I mean, I was on WFAN a few nights ago overnight, and the first thing was said is this: this Rangers team is better than people think. It's not going to be a pushover. Even Vegas kind of inches towards this a little bit, which I couldn't believe at first. But if you start going like, all right, let's put it this way. The series handicap in this, or a nice way of saying, well, within a game and a half, who's going to win this series is pretty close to even. So that's a good sign for the Rangers. That means that more than likely there's enough people that think that this is going to go at least 6 games.
I'm with you too.
I think it does too. My concern is Ranta can play better than people think, especially at home. And with the Rangers, they're it's one of those things where it's like there's concerns. Carolina plays well on the road. They play well on ice. They're one of probably the few teams that does, other than, ironically, the Devils, who love playing at MSG at times. It's a love-hate relationship. They either play really well or really bad. But a lot of teams watched video, and this is an obscure game, but it was like maybe 3 years ago before COVID, where the Devils absolutely torched Shesterkin for like 5 goals in about 25 minutes.
Was that the game that Hughes got 2 goals in?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And legitimately,
I remember that game. I remember that game because he was like, up to that point, he had been a brick wall. And then it was all, because I think he had a couple of shutouts and that was his rookie year, right?
Yeah, it was his rookie
year. And then all of a sudden,
holy crap, what happened? And it's one of those things that people point to. And Shesterkin has these hiccups even now. I mean, you can't explain it. You can't rationalize it, but it's there. And the more of those that he had at least 2 or 3 of those in the Penguin series, obviously. But he bounced back. Can he bounce back against a more balanced and more high octane team when they're going in Carolina? And that's the question.
Carolina is the number 1 offensive team in the league, right? They just over 4 goals a game, so that is going to be important when it comes down to it. This is a good question, and I don't mean to jump on you there, bud. Can a crowd make or break a series if they're louder than their opponents? I'm gonna go on the opposite side of you guys and say yes, they can. You know what? And I have a point in case.
Oh,
Minnesota. This series, game 1, Minnesota, St. Louis shuts out Minnesota. 7 minutes into the game, that crowd walks away. They win game 2, right? They win game 3, but in game 4, when the Blues absolutely needed a win, that crowd was everywhere. They stood up. They came. They brought it, and I think that was enough. Because when you went into game 6, or maybe I got that wrong. The game 6, the crowd in St. Louis, I think was enough to help them get them over that hump. I think that game 4 win shut down the crowd of Minnesota in game 5.
Well, the most I ever played in front of was about 3,000 people. And as a goalie, I don't pay attention to the crowd. That's just me. Do I hear it? Yeah. But if a crowd's loud and I'm in another building, I'm like, yeah, great. Everybody's into it. If the crowd's loud and I'm at home, great. Everybody's into it. I never differentiated between the two. I think sometimes the players are happy that the crowd's into it. Most guys I've talked to, yeah, they love the crowd. They love the fact that it was into it.
Yeah.
But guys kind of fall short of coming and saying, if without the crowd, we wouldn't have come back. I don't think it's that much. I don't know if Chris will agree with me since he played hockey for all those years, but is it nice after you make a big save or you score a goal and the crowd cheers? That's when you can enjoy it. But
Right.
during the game, I never noticed it. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, you kind of blocked it out. I mean, there would be times like during some some playoff games where you kind of sit around and I'm not going to lie. I mean, we got to play at Princeton University.
Oh wow!
Now, the thing is, small crowd, as loud
Yep.
as probably an AHL arena.
That
Maybe
building's
even
loud.
louder.
That building's really
That
loud.
building rocks. It is an old wood building that, simply put, I mean, you get the crowd going. And we kind of did that our first playoff game. And yeah, then it can make a difference. But most times at this level, it's usually after your big play, big save, big goal. But during, it's just like,
I see.
I'm with Chris. I never paid attention to it because as a goalie, you can't take your
Well,
mind
as a
off.
goalie, you can't, but I think position players do. And I think because you know what, Lance, we've heard that. How many times have we heard Tarasenko say, the fans, they lift me up?
How many times have you heard Ryan O'Reilly when they asked, does having the home ice, having the fans with you make a difference? And no, it really doesn't.
Yeah, but
I mean,
it's different. I think that's different.
Hey, I think
for a center, it is a little bit different.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think O'Reilly or Tarasenko's talking about when a big play happens and they score a goal. I think he notices it then, but
I think he notices it from the moment he steps on that ice. I really do. Remember the beginning of the season, and I bring this up. And you know I have a man crush on him anyways. But remember the beginning of the season with all the horse shit that was going on with Tarasenko. And by the way, if you want to get me riled up, talk to me about the Masterson finalists today. I am pissed.
Oh, I knew this was coming.
Pissed.
I knew I should have gotten my popcorn for this.
I told you he wouldn't win it, and not because I didn't want him to or that he didn't deserve it. I told you he wouldn't win it.
That's bullshit. Bullshit. I'm sorry. 2 of those 3 guys should not even have been on that. Should not. Dedication to hockey, you played 4 games. Maybe next year you come back and you have a great season. Okay. Price should not have been on it. The guy from Philly whose brother died. Okay, I understand that. And then who was the third one? I can't think of it right now. I can't think of it. But the third one, it did gripe my ass. The only one that I thought could have been there. Hey, Chara. What did Chara do? He's old. He didn't help. Freaking.
He was terrible.
Islanders to anything.
I told people before the season, Chara should be done. And Lou Lamoriello was an idiot for signing him. And then, hey, Chris, I don't know if you knew this, right before the trading deadline, everybody wanted the Blues to get Chara. I'm like, you guys are idiots. Have you watched it?
No, don't do it.
Yeah, I know. But you want to talk about dedication to hockey. You start the season with some reporter coming out telling everybody that you requested a trade, which isn't necessarily the true statement.
Not the truth.
Right? You didn't request a trade. You said, hey, if you're not going to use me this way, here's some teams I'd be interested in, but I really want to stay here. But hey, use me better. I need to play. I need to be used a little better, put in better situations. That's what happened. And he comes out, and I'll tell you what, from day one, that fan base, he walked out there, and you thought I think there was a prop bet that was plus 320 on the crowd booing him. Crowd booing him.
It is
plus
true.
320 on the crowd booing him. Chris, am I right on that?
Yeah, you can't undo that one. There was a prop in Vegas.
He knew they wouldn't boo him. I mean, there might have been 10
this
people
is hilarious.
But he comes out He comes out. I think it was. I remember seeing it was like plus 320. They boo him, and minus 210 that they cheer him.
Yep.
God, I wish I would have put $100 on that on them cheering him, because he walked out and immediately you heard Vladdy, 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 and it got louder and louder and louder, and he thrived on that all season long. You want to talk about dedication to hockey? You go into a locker room where they think that you're pissed at them, and you say, no, I'm going to play my best game. I'm going to have my best season ever. That's dedication to hockey. I mean, him not getting the finalist is a travesty.
Okay,
I'll back that up all day long.
He should have been somewhat of a finalist, but I'm going to tell you, from being in the locker room, when it comes to guys signing and guys not saying they don't want to be there, they know that there's two sides to every story. And as long as he plays well, the locker room's fine with him. You know, those guys know him. They know he didn't go in and demand a trade and yell like was reported by one of the Blues reporters. And you and I have sources inside that basically told us exactly what happened. Like you said, it was, hey, you know, I don't feel I'm being used right. Do you guys want to move on from me? Because if you do, I'll allow you to do that. Here are my teams. It wasn't, I want to be out of here. And it was sad that it was reported that way. And I do agree with you on that, guy, that when that first game and the crowd came out, yes, it did matter to him in that game. I will agree with you on that.
But I think it mattered all season long, because every time he was a star of the game, the first thing he said, the first thing out of his mouth was, oh, these fans, you're great. I play for you. I hear you. You know, the Vladdy chants. He couldn't get away from that. That was the first thing out of his mouth. He never talked about the game. Then I also remember the question he got asked by John Kelly. Were you and I'm going to get the word wrong, inspired by Krill's goals? No, I was inspired by the win. This guy came to play hockey. Amid all of that, he came to play hockey at his best season ever. And that, you talk about X factors. I'm telling you, I know everybody loves McKinnon. I know it. I get it. Nathan McKinnon, at age 14, he wasn't just dreaming he was going to be in the NHL. He believed he was going to be in the NHL. Oh, come on. You guys have seen that commercial, right?
Yes.
Right? The Rocket Mortgage commercial. Tarasenko did too. And Tarasenko, I think, in his own way, is as good as, if not better, than McKinnon.
Yeah, I want to add something onto that. That was a dumb question by Dan. I love him. I love Dan Kelly or John Kelly.
Kelly, yeah.
That's a dumb question.
It was moment. It was a moment question.
I know, but I mean, the whole Russian. Well, that Russian outdid me. That's like, you know, you don't pay attention to that stuff.
He doesn't.
Stupid
but
question.
that's what I'm getting at here. This series. I mean, I know a lot of people are looking at this as the third best series. I don't think it is. I think it's the first best. I think that, you know, you have three solid series and a fourth one that's right there anyways. I don't see these being 5-game series. These are 6 and 7 game series. These teams are all evenly matched. They've all played hard. And in fact, one of the things that was brought up was with they've had a week off. I don't care what kind of practice you do. There's nothing that gets you ready for game speed, but game speed. Right? The Blues have had a few days off, just not as long.
The only thing that helps you when you have a week off is if you got injured players. You know, that's all it helps you with.
Well, that's where it's going to help the Blues. I think it helps the Blues more. I think if you get Kroenke back in this series or Scandella back, right? I know many of our fans are Scandella haters, but Scandella gets out there and does the work. And there was a question earlier, we didn't get to it, you know, do they go 12 and 6 or do they go back to 11 and 7? To be honest, right now, I say you stay 11 and 7 until you can get a quarterback back. Scandella can quarterback a power play.
And Chris, you were going to say something too. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah,
buddy.
I didn't mean to jump there, Chris. Sorry about that.
I'm used to it. It's part of how it goes. But I mean, yeah, it's interesting with everybody talking about this, and you know, just from the outsider standpoint with Tarasenko. Tarasenko is one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet. You know, once you get him a little relaxed. For those that don't know, 2013, right after, a few months after Sandy here in New Jersey, there was a charity event for Sandy relief. Didn't think anything of it at the time. It was kind of like in a North America versus Russia type format. Saw quite a few of the older Russian, ex-players. In comes out of nowhere Vladimir Tarasenko. Now, obviously, these are retired players. He wasn't there to play, but he was there. Out of nowhere, almost out of nowhere, the stereotype of Russians just chain smoking everywhere, and he kind of just looking at it like, the first thing he says, it's like, God, these guys still smoke like this.
Yeah, and a lot of the media members didn't know he did that. He didn't want it known because he wanted it to be kind of private, and that's the type of individual he is.
I mean, he made a substantial donation. I don't remember the exact amount, but I know. I mean, I got to talk to him for a little bit, and I explained to him where I lived and the damage that wasn't all that far from me. And he's like, can I ask how? And I was like, okay, here you go. Picture a tidy bowl. Picture a toilet.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, and the Russian part of his head is probably going, huh?
Yeah, a toilet.
I was like, just bear with me. But the water literally just going completely around and just keeps getting higher and higher, and these people have nowhere to go.
Yep.
And that's what happened to a lot of people down
That was a good analogy.
And I guess it must have resonated somehow, because the next thing we knew, it's like media people are like, he donated X amount of money, and you're just like, and it wasn't the money, it was the fact that he was there, he was talking to people, and it's not. And you know what? I'm one of the few people that probably will sit there and be like, I don't care what the guy does on, off the ice, or etc. But you know what? Sometimes nicer than handing out something from your checkbook, it's just sitting there,
listening.
And I think that meant more to a lot of people than anything else. And you know what? Sometimes that's better off not being publicized.
You're right. And
he was very young at that age, so it's not like he had been in the league and
he wasn't in the league that long, so people have to understand that.
And
he had a presence of mind.
The amount either, but he does a lot of that in St. Louis. Very few things of what he does in St. Louis, and Guy knows this, ever talked about, because he's private about it. And I like that about him. He doesn't want people to go, oh, Vladdy gave $20,000 to this. He preferred us to give it anonymously and leave it at that.
It's not only that, you constantly in the groups, that when I was in the groups, you would see, I met Vladimir at the gas station today, and he gladly, let me take a picture in that. He's never turned anybody down. I met him, and I haven't had I had a decent conversation, about a 15-minute conversation with him when I was in St. Louis with my broken ring. And we talked a little private. He was getting ready for practice, and it was his first practice he'd been at. And I knew it. I knew it right then and there. I called Lance that day and said, Vladdy's going to have the season this year. Remember that, Lance? Right? I called you and told you Vladdy's going to have the season this year. And I knew it. And that's why I just think that he's getting a bum rush. And if you want to know who should get the Masterson, that's a travesty that he's not one of the three finalists. Absolute travesty that he's not. You talk about dedication to hockey and the three finalists, none of them helped their team win. This guy came in amid all of that controversy, put it to the side, and put his team in the second round. I'm sorry, that counts to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It absolutely counts to me.
Can I go ahead and talk about that series? I haven't been able to talk about the Rangers.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I think it comes down to Shesterkin, and I know I screw his name up too, but he's the guy like Jake Allen kind of was here. Man, had some great games where he'd allow a goal or two goals, but then he would give up a goal that you'd say, man, an 8-year-old could have made that save. What was he thinking? I think that's going to be key in this series. And a lot of people a lot of people say the Rangers didn't outplay the Penguins. The Penguins should have won, and the whole helmet crap. I'm sick of hearing about that. But you know the difference between the Rangers and the Penguins in that series? The Rangers, even when they were down, never thought they were out. And the Rangers came up with more big goals than Pittsburgh did in my mind. Yeah, Pittsburgh scored, and it went 7 games. But the Rangers, even when they were down, never thought they were out. And that kind of team with that kind of talent, you're going to have issues with in any series, whoever they play with. So I see it going 7 games, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Rangers win it, but I'm going to pick the Hurricanes.
Yeah, you could go either way. I'm looking at some of these comments. We kind of like bypass some of them, but we've had a good show today, man. Chris, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. When I put it out in the group saying I was doing this, you jumped right at it, and I got to say thanks, man. I really do.
Oh, this is the easy part of the job. People don't realize this. We could sit there and talk hockey for hours. I mean, you put a beer or a nice nice good drink in front of me, and it's like, okay, let's go.
Oh no,
or food, because
obviously I can too, and we've had a wonderful 2-hour discussion. That's 2 nights basically 2 nights in a row, not counting Sunday, that we've done 2-hour shows, Lance. I am so excited about this coming up. I think that there's a lot of good information. I think that both teams, I'm sorry, you know what gets me, and this is how I know that the majority of Avs fans know nothing about hockey, because they think it's just going to be a cakewalk. Right? Oh, we swept them last year, and they're the same team, so we're going to sweep them again. It's not going to be a cakewalk, my friends. Right? They got down 2-1 to Minnesota, and instead of laying down, they changed their game, got back to basics and beat them. I think they can do the same thing to Colorado. I also think that they can steal that first game. Now, I know I was looking at earlier, Colorado's record in game ones at home is just
crazy,
fantastic. Mm-hmm. Right? Let's see if I can find that real quick.
Yeah, another thing Avs fans don't realize, it looked pretty easy against the Predators, but I will tell you this, it would have went 6 or 7 games if Saros would have been in goal, because there were a lot of those goals that were given up that, I mean, can I say that Saros would have saved him? No, but I think Saros would have taken a better angle to it. There were times when you thought, man, he should have stayed back a little bit. He shouldn't have come out the net so much, and so on and so forth. And just the opposite, he should have come out more. I think if Saros is in that series, it's not a 5-game series. Now, I still picked the Avs to win, but I think it would have been tougher if Saros would have been in goal.
Right. Well, here we go. In games 1, the Avalanche overall are 30-17. At home, they are 21-7. That's 750. In games 2, they're 27-20, 20-8. 20-8 at home. You can get them in. You can get them in a game. I know they're at 700 clip. The Blues, who have a much more storied playoff history, numbers don't look as good. But then again, you're talking about longer playoff history and things like that. But for the Blues, and I rolled right by it. Here we go. In game 1, they're 33-33 overall. They're 20-13 at home, 13-20 on the road. In games 2, they're 29-37. They are 10-24 on the road. I don't know. I know this is one of those times where I think that the Blues have that opportunity to do it. I really do. I just think that there's something there. Colorado's missing something. And I think that everybody doesn't realize what they're missing, and they don't have playoff heart. They do not have playoff heart. And what I mean by that is, you look at all the series, all the playoffs that they've been in, and there's always an excuse why they lost. Always an excuse.
I think most teams are that way.
Yeah, no, this is different. This isn't a fan base. This is a team excuse. This isn't a fan base. This is the team, right? when they lost to the Sharks in round 2 in 19 with those two funky games, back-to-back funky games where they had the goal disallowed. Oh, they screwed us. That should have been a goal. That wasn't offsides. You heard that from the players, right? Oh, Kadri was out. We didn't have Kadri. He got a bad suspension. You heard that from the coach. You heard that from the players. They don't have this cohesion.
But we're going to find out now
lose.
if they have it this year, and we're going to find out pretty quick.
Yeah, I want to talk about. Go ahead. I want to talk about one thing after you're done, Guy, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
What does everybody think about Peter DeBoer being fired? I always thought that Gerard Gallant should not have been fired. They had an excuse to do it, but look at what he's done with the Rangers. He's a great coach. And I think a lot of their issues aren't just with the salary cap, but it's with Peter DeBoer. He's a good coach, but is he that guy that's going to take you over the edge? And he never did it in San Jose. So they should have never hired him in my mind.
I'll let you go with that, Chris.
That is one ruthless organization.
It is. Isn't it?
I mean, there's no other way to describe it. Now look. Yeah, DeBoer led the Devils to a Stanley Cup final, and I'll argue that was the one that, for a lack of a better term, probably LA shouldn't have. You make a case LA shouldn't have won either cup. It's weird. They actually could have both lost to both metro area teams, and you could have made a case easily. But DeBoer tends to wear out his welcome in like about year 4. And it's uncanny too. There's like a demarcation line. It's just like, boom, something happens and that's it. And this year, I wouldn't even say it was the injuries. It was just the indifferent attitude. You could see it in his press conferences. You could see he's just getting tired of the same questions all the time. We didn't get some of the classics like in New Jersey where he has the tough building quote that gets played everywhere he goes. Or things like that, or the 2012 playoffs where there was the nice, buxomly curvy lady that was behind him, distracting him.
I have no clue who this McDavid MVP guy is, but oh my God, is this a laugh? Just watch. We have the easiest road to the finals. I mean, Kings, Calgary, and Well, it took you 7 games to beat the Kings.
That didn't sound easy, but
yeah.
Chris, it took a lot quicker than 4 years this time.
You know what? To be honest, yeah.
His players, I've talked to some people out there. I know people in most of the organizations. It's a mess. That is a messed up organization. And the GM didn't get along with him. The GM told him to do certain things and he wouldn't do them. The players could not stand him at all.
Yeah, so for me, this has nothing to do with Peter DeBoer, other than, first of all, he didn't know that his goalie was out having surgery. I mean, I don't know how much of that was, just, what do you call it?
I could see it. He's
media stuff,
He's just, I don't know.
But this has a lot more to do with the front office than him. Okay, the front office. You want to know why they missed the playoffs this year? The front office made every freaking mistake that you can make. Starting in 2021, 2020, signing Pietrangelo to a 8-year, no movement clause contract that has handcuffed your organization. Then down the stretch, you go and get Jack Eichel, great. But once Eichel's good enough, you have to put 2 of your top defensive guys on LTIR for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So you can put Eichel in. Well, now you have no third. It's the Butcher trade.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, we'll get Garth Butcher. He's great, but we're going to trade our second scoring line to get him. Well, what did that get you? Nowhere. Right? So to me, it's a front office issue, not a DeBoer issue. But I think DeBoer and the front office don't get along, so it was bound to happen. But I don't see them getting a top-end coach. There's no coach coming into that.
DeBoer wore out his welcome in San Jose too. I think.
Yeah, well, it's not like DeBoer doesn't do this. He does.
It's nothing new.
Well, I mean, there's the other thing. Oh, we have the coaches taking us to the playoffs 3 years in a row. Our rival team. Oh, they just fired their coach, so we're going to fire ours and get our rival team's coach. Duh! That makes no sense. I mean, you look at that. Even a Hollywood writer writing a script would go, nah, that doesn't make, no, that would never fucking happen. I have to erase it. And that's what happened. You know, the thing that would never happen happened.
Yeah, and you know what I've heard? I've heard from people in New Jersey, and I didn't talk to anybody in San Jose, but I talked to people in Vegas that he interviews very well. He presents himself as very confident, knows what he's doing, has a plan to move the organization forward. But when he gets in there, he doesn't actually follow through with those plans and how he feels things should go forward. And like Chris said, towards the end there, I'd say half the season he looked like he didn't care.
Yeah. When Eichel came in and he had to put, you know, those guys on, that's when he stopped caring. That was the end of it. The Eichel trade was the dagger for them, and I knew it. I remember I wrote that article on Full Press about, you know, the top 10 guys, and I had someone comment, "Oh, this can't be a legitimate list because you don't have Vegas or Edmonton on it."
Yeah.
I'm thinking one of those
There's
two teams isn't even going to make the playoffs.
And you know what? People get on to Seattle for not going after huge names besides Giordano. That they get on to him. Oh, you've got this young team. It's not costing you very much. You only spent, was it 60 million or 63 million? I think on the cap. It might be a little bit less, but I knew they were going to do that. Seattle's doing it right. They're looking to build for the future. Vegas did it wrong by looking to build now. We're going to win now, and we'll worry about the future later. I always like teams, especially expansion teams, that start out to build their farm system, their minor league teams. They build their team up. Yeah, we're going to be bad for a couple of years, but we're going to get there eventually. And I think Seattle did it better, don't you, Chris?
I mean, Seattle, the only problems that they have is there's a couple like little minor tweaks that they could have had as far as the expansion draft, and their coach is awful.
Well, he is, yeah.
I mean, you know, and Ron Francis is Ron Francis, so you have limitations, but if they really do stay committed, they'll be okay eventually. It's just going to probably take a little bit longer.
Yeah, well, they're teaching their fans how to lose, and and they can because they have a hockey knowledgeable fan base.
They get it,
right? They just stole a whole shitload of fans from Vancouver.
Yeah, a lot of fans I know drive up from Seattle to go to Vancouver games all the time.
So they have that fan base, that knowledge base already built in, so they can teach their fans how to lose. Vegas couldn't. Vegas had to win now, and that was just one of the problems with putting an organization in Vegas. There was no hockey culture to begin with, and you have to build hockey culture. It's the problem at Arizona, right? They've never gone out and tried to build a hockey culture. You raised the #1 draft pick, and you blew it off. I mean, Matthews from Arizona grew up in that organization, did all his junior hockey, all his AA hockey, all of his stuff there, and you don't use that. You're idiots. You're idiots. And until they get in, that's why I think that they shouldn't move, because if you move with the same damn ownership group that screwed you up to begin with.
They weren't in line.
Different ownership group.
Matthews, their draft position wasn't good enough to get Matthews.
Well, but I know that, but even now, Matthews doesn't spend time with them. He doesn't in the offseason. He's not helping build that. You know, that's how you build it. Look at what St. Louis did with hockey. Right? Look how many former players, not just Blues players from other teams, come to St. Louis and live. Guys that may have played here 1 year, were on another team the whole time, come here and live, come to St. Louis to live, because what they've done, the hockey culture that they've developed, the small town feel that they've developed, that's created probably the best alumni group in the league.
Yeah, and a lot of people that I've talked to, a lot of former players, say that St. Louis reminds them of a Canadian city.
Oh, absolutely.
The people are so nice, and that's why a lot of the players stay, and that's why other players come and live here. It's St. Louis reminds me a little bit of Calgary. You know, just not a lot, but a little bit, with the way the people are really nice. You know, that whole joke, if you punch a Canadian in the face, he'll say he's sorry. I'm so sorry. It's not that bad, but it's pretty close to that. And you know, like I've told the stories of how many times I've gone up there and be in a bar and somebody go, "You play?" I play what? You play hockey? Yeah. Hey, we're going to be having a pickup game. What do you play at, goalie? Oh, I guess you didn't bring your pads then, eh? No. We got an extra pair to show up tonight at 11 o'clock at the rink. You know where that's
Yeah.
at? I'm like, yeah, I know where it's at. Yeah, just show up. We'll let you play. It's normally $25 a person, but we'll go ahead and eat that because we need another goalie, you know? I'm like, I don't
Sure.
know these people.
It's true.
Yes, it's very
Yeah.
true.
I mean,
No,
you know,
and St. Louis has become that thing. The ice center that they built in Maryland Heights. I was there almost every single day when I was home, and it was like people were talking to me, and this I got to know people from being there every single day, and it was just it was really it was a great experience, man. Did this 2 hours come and go like that?
Chris, you were going to say something. I want to get your comment.
Yeah, go ahead, bud.
yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of fortunate in the sense that you get to. The irony is, I won't get to go up to Montreal for the draft this year because of that pandemic thing.
Yeah.
Rumble. By the time I get the credentials for it, it's like New Jersey's about to go backwards again, and it's like you just know it's coming, and it's just like, you know what? It's like, do I do it? Do I not do it? It's like if I try to get the hotel room, I know what's going to happen.
Yep,
it's like,
you know what's going to happen.
I mean, whereas by December,
if I could get a sponsor, I'd go. If I could get a sponsor, I don't know how. I have media access. Right. I don't have team access, but I do have some media access. So would I be able to get a credential? I don't know. I could apply for it. I mean, I could apply for the finals. I got sent the stuff today to apply for the finals.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I just don't. I don't have a sponsor to get me there, and I don't work for anybody that could afford to send me there because I sure can't. Love to go though.
I joke. That's where I often sometimes come in.
Say again.
I've done it for people before, where it's just like, every so often, it's like if I have the money and I can't go, it's like,
that's nice of you, Chris.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've been there. I know what it's like, and it's like, it's like, hey,
Well, keep me in mind, Chris.
If I can manage to avoid like the level of injuries that happen in my household, which you think that how bad could it be? It's like you have 3 women in your life, and
Oh, I did. I have 2 grown daughters now, so I only have 1. So, but that's bad enough sometimes.
You're on the estrogen highway, is what you're on right there, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, big time, big time. My mom, my niece, and my sister-in-law, and it's
wow.
And it's like there's no, like I said, there's no brother because my brother passed away a couple of years ago.
I'm sorry, bud.
Sorry to hear that, my friend.
And it's like my oldest brother, he passed away, not too long after my brother. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's just like, man, it's like I joke with people. It's like I'm it. It's like, damn it. It's like you look and it's like, oh, I want to go cover this hockey event. And it's like, damn it. Or a good example. It's like, oh, there's this podcast. We want you to be on it. And it's like, wait, does that fall within? And people are like, well, how bad could it be? And I'm like, it's not that it's bad. I was like, let's make this very clear. It's life.
Yeah.
Like I love hockey more than anything in this world, but it's nothing with family.
That's right.
So
That's exactly right.
It's just one of those things where it's like, you gotta stop.
I wrote an article when I first started writing hockey. The first thing that I wrote was how hockey saved me, about following Brett Hull's chase for 92 goals in 1991 during the Gulf War. And what that meant to me, and hockey's meant that for a long period. Like I didn't understand when you talked about the midnight trade, the Shattenkirk trade. I've been in Hawaii since 2004, and until recently, until the last 2017, or actually 16, did we really start getting to where you could get hockey here. This is the first year that we've had the NHL center ice. Other than that, you had to buy it. So and it was on a heavy delay. So I understand exactly where you are. Well, we're gonna close this show out here real quick, and we're kind of went really long. But Lance, thanks so much for joining you. I know you're going to be you can't be with us tomorrow, maybe for the post game.
What time is the post game?
Probably be a lot of 11:30 your time. It's a 8:30 game your time.
So then that's in Denver.
Yeah,
an hour behind me.
Yeah, no, it's 8:30 Central time. 8:30 Central time.
I'll be able to be on anything but the pregame.
Okay. Well, and again, Chris, thanks so much, man. You guys, I've had a couple of you guys on from Full Press, and you guys have done a great job. You've really been helpful, and I greatly appreciate it. Thanks for joining me, man. And hopefully you'll come back again.
Oh, absolutely. Because I mean, what else are we gonna do during the playoffs?
That's true.
Well, I mean, it was great. Hopefully you had a good time, and
That's all that matters to me. It's always
and we gave you some good insight, and you learned, and you were able to think that I'm not a complete idiot, and that I do know something.
Hey, look, I always enjoy different points of view, because you know what, it makes me think. I mean,
Right.
that's like I've said to people many times. It's like, well, why do you the other thing I get asked usually is, why do you write other sports? Besides hockey. I was like, to be perfectly honest, I was like, because it helps me get in tune with my hockey writing.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll have somebody that literally is like, and they'll just sit there and they'll just be like this, and then they'll just shake their head like, you can't write that. You can't write that, but you just wrote that.
You write what you feel, and it kind of, actually, did you read? I wrote the Mike Bossy article, right?
Yes.
Apparently, you guys, I don't know if you read it, but a lot of you love it. But that wasn't how I started it, right?
Hey, you know what? I mean, I've done it. I've done it many times.
I started it. I started it. F cancer.
Pretty much.
Huh?
Pretty much. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, because and then what I really screwed up is when Guy Carbonneau died. That was a funny one. When I wake up that morning and I see that everyone's talking about Guy died, and I'm like, no, I didn't. I'm pinching myself until I realized it was Guy Carbonneau.
Oh my god. Yeah, I've had some really funny moments where you just sit there. I still say it the best, and I can't believe this. We did a podcast for quite a few years. It was the program, and then it became the Hockey Writers Live, and we did a show right after Sandy, and legitimately out of nowhere, I had Bob McKenzie, on Twitter say, you really are like a lifelong Jersey. He's like, you could hear like just the heartache of what you saw. Because what I saw that week afterwards, I mean, would bring any man to their knees. I mean,
yeah. Unfortunately, so I've had something similar, not like what you did, but in 1991, when Mount Pinatubo blew up in the Philippines, the ship I was on, was sent down, and we were a rescue ship. So I've had that attached to me. So I know what a natural disaster is like, and what it means, and what it feels, and how it is breathing that dust, and seeing seeing things that you're not supposed to see, and I remember that.
Yeah,
absolutely remember that.
It was very different. I mean, for people that don't know, Sandy in its own kind of sense was a longer sort of disaster than anybody realized, because you were finding things like days and weeks later, kind of like Katrina in a way, in its own way. I mean, I have at least there was one amusing part to Sandy. My next door neighbor had a weighted basketball net, probably about 200-300 pounds worth of sand in it. In the middle of the night, like about 3-4 o'clock in the morning, mind you, the wind had calmed down a little bit. It wasn't that bad. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, about 105, 110 mile per hour gusts just picked this thing up and dropped it. And we heard this loud thud, and I thought for sure it was my car. My next door neighbor at the time thought it was his car.
Yeah.
It landed straight dead in between the cars. Like there was a 12-inch space, and it took up 11 7/8. I mean, it was like right next to each bumper. I mean, you barely could get a credit card between the bumpers, and we're just looking at each other like, wow. Yeah. But it's, again, it's just one of those things where, like I've said to people, you learn in this world, there's a lot more to it, and we're just a happy part of it. or at least
Yeah,
try
trust
to.
me. I spent. I've told people this. I spent 40 something, 30 something, 40 something days in a minefield, and it changes you. Well,
It does.
guys, what a great show! What a great time! What a great guest having Chris on, having Mikel on, Ashley and Lance. We had a great show, great preview. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7:30 Central Daylight Time for the Blue Note Fan Report. This is Guy the Wild Blues fan saying aloha mahalo. Got to know I'm bleeding blue with you. Aloha.